Good morning, everyone. As we have some of our attendees trickle in, I want to welcome you to part 5, flagging overview of the introduction to the Minnesota Temporary Traffic Control Field Manual for Highway Workers webinar series. I want to introduce our course instructor, John Jackals, who works at SRF Consulting Group and has more than 40 years of ITS and traffic engineering experience. He's actively involved in local, regional, and national associations, including the Minnesota County Engineering Association's Traffic Safety Committee, the American Traffic Safety Services Association, the Institute of Traffic Engineers, and the FHWA's Enterprise Pooled Fund Study. John has presented at numerous conferences and served on many technical committees for research and project development. I want to remind you today's webinar is 0.25 credits towards the Rhodes Scholar Program Maintenance Certificate. And what you can do is afterwards send me an email with either your name or the names of everyone who is in the group with you today. And I can make sure you get those credits towards the Rhodes Scholar Program. So now I'll turn it over to John to get us started for today.
Thank you, Samantha. Good morning, everyone. Before I get started here, I just want to remind anyone, if you have a question at any time, type it into the question and answer box, and Samantha will interrupt me so we can answer that in a timely manner. As Samantha said, today we're going to be talking about flagging in work zones. Just want to remind everyone that this course is presented by the Minnesota Local Technical Assistance Program at the Center of Transportation Studies at the university. We have a lot of partners, including the Minnesota Department of Transportation, with this program. This is the final part of the series of 5 for the Minnesota Temporary Traffic Control Field Manual, dated January 2018. Those other parts have been recorded and are available on the MnLTAP website. So if you missed those or want to review that, you can go back and take a look at those also. And I want to also note that if you have a field manual, the web address on the cover is no longer working. And the web address on this slide is a web address you can access the entire manual with. Today, we're going to talk about the last section of the field manual, which is the flagging handbook, a little introduction to flagging. We'll talk about laws for violators, some enhancements of flagging, and some additional training that's available for flagging operations. Minnesota Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices for Streets and Highways has been established to provide a uniform policy for all traffic control devices on all public streets, roads, and highways within the state of Minnesota. This is a very unique manual, as it's actually called out in statute in the state of Minnesota. In statute 169.06, subdivision 1, described within the manual, can also be used by private agencies and facilities which they control. It's recommended that such be done so that the meaning of traffic control devices be uniform throughout the state. The field manual is part of the manual on uniform traffic control devices, and that covers temporary traffic controls for 3 days or less. It must be remembered the goal of temporary traffic control is to provide for a safe and efficient movement of traffic around a location where the normal function of the roadway is temporarily suspended. To accomplish this, the respect of the driver must be earned by appropriate and prudent use of traffic control devices. When work is not in progress or the hazard no longer exists, temporary traffic control devices shall be covered, turned away from traffic, or removed from the area. Before getting started this morning, it's important to review the MnDOT creed that is included in the field manual. Always remember, no job is so important in maintenance or construction, and no service so urgent that we cannot take the time to perform our work safely. Remember, the goal is that everyone, workers, motorists, bicycle riders, and pedestrians, arrive safely at their destinations. I want to stress how important a flagging job is and how dangerous it can be. Always face oncoming traffic. Never turn your back to oncoming traffic. And the flagger's normal station is out of the roadway and on the shoulder. As I said, the last section of the field manual is the Minnesota Flagging Handbook. And that's what we're going to cover this morning. I'm going to start with a video that describes the different flagging operations.
Various road construction projects may require the use of flaggers as part of the operations. In these situations, it is no exaggeration to say that the flagger's job is the most important one on site. The lives of everyone, the traveling public, the construction crew, and the flaggers themselves are all in the hands of the flagger. Any lack of attention or a mistake could mean the difference between life and death. It is imperative that flaggers be alert, well-trained, properly equipped, and correctly outfitted to do the job.
So we were doing snow removal operations. I had the northbound lane stopped. My partner had the southbound lane stopped. And he was released the southbound lane, and I turned to make sure the southbound lane was flowing freely and waving them through. And a lady came from a frontage road, and she clipped me. And I took my eyes off traffic. In that split second of me taking the eyes off the traffic, I got hit.
As a MnDOT safety administrator, I'm often called to the scene where there's a serious injury or fatality in a work zone. Through years of investigating crashes, I've learned the flagger is a key player in preventing injuries and fatalities in work zones. Flaggers are the first line of defense in preventing vehicles from entering the work zone and for warning others of potential dangers. By preparing yourself with proper personal protective equipment, staying attentive at all times, and never turning your back on traffic, you can prevent serious injuries and fatalities from occurring in the work zone.
An effective flagging operation is not something that just happens. It's the result of planning, proper training, and the use of good flagging procedures. This program was developed to help you prepare to be a flagger. As a flagger, you're in contact with the public more than anyone else on the job. Your attitude and appearance directly affect the public's view of operations. A flagger's responsibilities are critical in keeping the work zone safe. Remember, your job as a flagger is the most important one on the work crew. The lives of you, your fellow workers, and motorists will depend on you.
Your first responsibility as a flagger is to have the proper clothing and equipment in good condition. Improper equipment reduces the driver's ability to understand your instructions. Neat dress and appearance also help you gain the driver's respect, making your job that much easier. On all MnDOT projects, your clothing shall include a clean vest, pants, and a hat that meet ANSI requirements. This clothing makes you more visible to traffic and makes you stand out from the other workers. A hard hat may also be required on site if stated by the project's contractor. An air horn or whistle are optional tools that you can use to warn coworkers if a vehicle appears likely to run into the work area. The main traffic device used by flaggers is a stop-slow paddle. This sign is octagon shape, at least 18 by 18 inches, with 6-inch high letters. The paddle shall be mounted on a handle that measures at least 5 feet from the ground to the bottom of the sign. A 7-foot mounted height is recommended to make the paddle more visible. Before beginning any flagging operation, advanced warning signs must be in place. During emergency flagging operations, flagging may begin before warning signs are in place, but warning signs should be put in place once they become available. For most flagging operations, warning signs will include a road work ahead sign, a 1-lane road ahead sign, and a flagger symbol sign. In some cases, other advanced warning signs, such as a be prepared to stop sign, may be used. With advanced warning signs in place and with proper equipment, the flagger may now begin controlling traffic. Drivers are often tired, inattentive, or impaired, requiring you to remain alert on your feet facing traffic at all times. Never turn your back to oncoming traffic and never stand directly in the path of approaching traffic. Locate your flagging station in a highly visible area. Park your own vehicle off the road away from your flagging station. Avoid standing where the sun is behind you and avoid standing in the shadows obscuring you from approaching drivers. Allow yourself an emergency escape route away from the path of errant vehicles. Make sure you're visible to oncoming traffic by standing alone away from other workers and worked vehicles. Any relief person must be properly attired with clothing that meets the ANSI requirements. Generally, flagging operations require 3 basic skills: stopping, releasing, and slowing traffic. To stop traffic, stand on the shoulder of the roadway with the stop paddle away from your body toward the near edge of the pavement. Raise your free hand with the palm exposed to the approaching driver. Look directly at approaching traffic and make eye contact with the driver. After you've stopped the first vehicle, remain on the shoulder of the road. This is your normal flagging location. You should never stand in the traffic lane. However, after stopping the first vehicle, if drivers of approaching vehicles are unaware of your presence, it may be necessary for you to stand in the traffic lane. You may only stand near the center line. Do not cross the center line. When you are satisfied that the drivers of all approaching vehicles are aware of your presence, you should move back to your normal flagging location on the shoulder. Keep your paddle on stop until you are safely on the shoulder of the road. Only then may you release traffic. Remember to watch out for traffic that may be coming from behind you by looking over your shoulder. Never turn your back on oncoming traffic or stand in the path of moving traffic. To release traffic from the closed or open lane, turn the slow side of the paddle to face the vehicles. With your free arm, signal the drivers to proceed. Be direct and point in the direction you want the traffic to go. Never wave the paddle. After all the vehicles have passed, turn your paddle to display stop and wait for the next vehicle. In some cases, you may not need to stop traffic, but only slow it down. In these cases, always stand on the shoulder of the road. Display the slow paddle to oncoming traffic. Use your free arm to motion traffic to slow down. Remember, never stand in the path of oncoming traffic.
If you learn these 3 basic skills, stop, release, and slow traffic, you'll be well prepared for any flagging operation. Situations will vary, and how you apply these skills will differ from project to project. Remember, never start any flagging operation without the proper equipment, stand in a highly visible and safe location, and never turn your back on approaching traffic. Now let's look at some typical situations a flagger may face.
The first situation is a single flagger operation. Sometimes only one flagger is needed to control traffic on a low-volume, 2-lane road. Where only one flagger is used, the work area must be short and on a straight section of roadway. The flagger must be visible to approaching traffic from both directions. In this situation, the flagger is positioned in the closed lane at the beginning of the taper. The flagger stops the traffic approaching in the closed lane. When the open lane is clear, the flagger allows traffic to proceed. Remember, a single flagger operation is only acceptable for low-volume conditions where there is good sight distance from both approaches and the work area is short. The second situation involves only one flagger restricting only one direction of traffic. An example of this is an area where trucks are loading or unloading and are blocking the lane. The flagger stops traffic in the usual manner. Once the work has been completed and the way is clear, the flagger releases traffic. When releasing traffic on a 2-lane highway where traffic is stopped temporarily in only one lane, turn the paddle a quarter turn so that the word stop faces you. In this position, the sign is parallel to the shoulder of the road so that neither stop nor slow can be read by motorists approaching from either direction. The stop message will then not confuse the traffic moving in the opposite direction. The third situation, probably the most common, is the 2-flagger operation. When 2 flaggers are used, they must be able to communicate with one another. This can be done by using radios, which is the preferred method. Other methods include keeping visual contact or using the flag carrying method. In these cases, one flagger is always in charge of the operation. If visual contact is possible in the work zone, then the operation normally works like this. One flagger displays the stop paddle and stops the traffic, while the second flagger displays the slow paddle and releases traffic. The first flagger continues to display the stop paddle and stop all traffic until the second flagger turns his paddle to stop and gives the all clear signal. This signal tells the second flagger he may release his traffic by displaying the slow paddle. The all clear message can be given visually by using a hand signal such as lifting one's hand. Be careful, however, not to use hand signals that may confuse the motorist. When visual contact is not possible, such as over hills or around curves, then radios are the best way to maintain communication between flaggers. If radios are not available, then the flag carrying method is another way to maintain communication between the flaggers. The first flagger hands a flag to the last car allowed to go through. When that car reaches the second flagger, he hands him the flag. Having received the all clear, the second flagger can now allow traffic to flow safely in the opposite direction. This operation is very simple, but the flagger must be assured that the driver of the last vehicle will pass the flag to the other flagger. Remember, communications between flaggers is vital, and radios are the best way to maintain communication. An advance flagger may be used where there is limited sight distance to the activity area or where long lines of traffic form. In a situation such as a limited sight distance, the advance flagger should stop each vehicle and inform the driver of the situation ahead. Where there are long lines of stopped traffic waiting to proceed, the advance flagger should move down the line and inform each driver the reason for the delay and the approximate length of that delay. The fourth situation is the use of a pilot car for traffic control. This method works best when the route is particularly long or dangerous, or where the work area changes so often that proper signing is difficult. The pilot car is used to guide a train of vehicles through a job or detour. This operation uses a flagger at each end of the one-lane section. Additional flaggers may also be used at intersections within the work zone to prevent cars from entering traffic against the direction the pilot car is leading the traffic. In this type of operation, the flagger holds all traffic on each end of the work zone until the pilot car arrives and leads the traffic through the work zone. When the flagger has determined that the last oncoming car has gone through the work zone, the pilot car should turn around and lead the opposite direction of traffic through the work zone. The flagger should describe the last vehicle to the other flagger after the last vehicle is allowed to enter the work zone. Vehicles arriving late to the flagging station should not be allowed to proceed if the last vehicle has traveled more than 300 feet beyond the flagger station. A safe turnaround location should be provided for the pilot car at each end of the work zone. The vehicle selected for the pilot car should be lightweight and easy to handle. It should have the name of the agency or contractor clearly displayed. The pilot car "Follow Me" sign shall be mounted on the rear of the vehicle. The vehicle shall have amber lights that rotate 360 degrees. 2 or more pilot cars may be used to guide traffic through a particularly complex or dangerous detour. The fifth situation is a nighttime flagging operation. These procedures are generally the same as daytime except for some equipment changes. A flashlight with lighted wand, a retro-reflectorized vest, pants, hat, and a retro-reflectorized stop-slow paddle are required for all nighttime flagging operations. The work zone and flagger stations shall be illuminated with auxiliary lighting during nighttime operations. This is the safest way to flag at night. The more visible you are, the easier it is for drivers to see you and to follow your instructions. To stop an approaching vehicle, stand on the shoulder of the road holding the paddle away from your body. Do not stand in the travel lane. Hold the flashlight with the glow cone in front of your body to attract the driver's attention. To release traffic, turn the paddle to slow and direct traffic to proceed by pointing the flashlight into the open lane. Do not wave the flashlight while releasing traffic. This might confuse the drivers. The sixth and final situation deals with emergencies such as a broken utility line, crashes, or a washout. In these situations, the proper flagging equipment and warning signs may not always be available. In that case, a 24 by 24-inch red flag may be used for flagging traffic. Proper flagging attire must be worn in all emergency flagging operations. In emergencies, your first priority is to warn the public of the hazard. To stop traffic, stand on the shoulder of the road and extend the flag onto the roadway. Raise your other hand to the stop position. To release traffic, drop the flag to your side and with your free hand, motion traffic to proceed. Do not use the flag to motion traffic through. This confuses the drivers. To alert and slow traffic, the flag should be waved from the ground to shoulder height. As soon as the proper equipment is available, the stop-slow paddles should be used and warning signs should be placed.
Now let's summarize the 6 flagging situations we've just discussed.
Single flagger operation. This operation is acceptable for low volume conditions where there is good sight distance and the work area is short. A single flagger may be used to restrict one direction of traffic. This operation is normally used where one lane of traffic is periodically blocked. Two flagger operation. This is the most common flagging procedure. A flagger works on each end of the work zone to control the movement of traffic through the work area. Good communication between flaggers is critical during this operation. Pilot car operation. This method is used when the work zone is particularly long, dangerous, or complicated. Nighttime flagging operation. This can be a dangerous operation because of poor visibility at night. In all nighttime flagging operations, all traffic control devices must be retroreflectorized and the flagging stations shall be illuminated. Emergency flagging. Under emergency situations, 24 by 24-inch red flags may be used to control traffic until stop-slow paddles can be obtained.
Remember, no matter what flagging procedure is used, always stay alert. Face oncoming traffic. Stand alone in a good visible location away from other workers and work vehicles, and never stand in the path of approaching vehicles. Your job as a flagger is one of the most important jobs in the work zone. Everyone, including the motorists, fellow workers, and you, will depend on your ability to properly follow these flagging procedures. If you ever have any questions about flagging operations, don't hesitate to ask your supervisor.
You may refer to the Minnesota Flagging Handbook in the Field Manual for flagging layout examples and flagger situations. Flagging is one of the most important jobs in any construction, maintenance, or utility operation. It is also one of the most dangerous. However, with proper training, equipment, and procedures, flagging can be safe and effective. The lives of you, your fellow workers, safety of the driving public will depend on you.
Let's take a look at some of the things that were highlighted in the videotape. Flaggers shall wear high visibility clothing meeting ANSI requirements 107-2004 for performance class 3. Class 3 requirements shall be met by wearing a class 2 or class 3 vest, shirt, or jacket, as well as class E pants. Clothing shall have an attached original label indicating the performance class. The background color shall be fluorescent orange, red, fluorescent yellow, green, or a combination of the two. Retroreflective material shall be orange, yellow, white, silver, or yellow, green, or a fluorescent version of these colors. It should be visible at a distance of 1,000 feet. It's very important to be visible to traffic and make sure that these garments are kept clean. Along with high visibility clothing, flagging requires a retroreflective stop-slow paddle, two-way communication device such as two-way radios as described in the video, and for nighttime flagging, a flashlight with a red glow cone and an illuminated flagger station is required. Other tools include the stop slow paddle with the 7-foot high staff being recommended. The minimum is 5 feet. Two-way radios are the best method to communicate between flaggers. Make sure you have fully charged batteries. Flashlight with the wand for nighttime flagging, and a 24 by 24-inch red flag for flagging in intersections for emergency situations. One thing not mentioned in the video that I want to talk about this morning is decision sight distance. That's the total distance traveled during the length of time required for a driver to detect an unexpected or otherwise difficult to perceive information source or hazard in the roadway environment that may be visually cluttered. Recognize the hazard or its potential threat to them, select an appropriate speed and path, and initiate and complete the required maneuvers safely and efficiently. In the field manual, the decision sight distance is used to determine the minimum distance required for the driver to see a flagger as the flagger is located in a vulnerable location, or work areas and layouts with minimal signing. It's also used to determine if an operation qualifies as mobile. The required decision sight distances are included in the temporary traffic control distance charts in the field manual. Flaggers need to ensure they're visible and may have a place at the flagging station further away from the workspace. Pay attention to your background. Are traffic controls equipment and other objects camouflaging you? Is the sun low in the sky behind you, blinding oncoming drivers? The flagger should remain standing and alert at all times. Stand on the shoulder facing traffic. If you have a vehicle at the site, it should be parked at least 2 vehicle lengths behind you and as far over the shoulder as possible. Make note of the location of your flagging station. Make sure you're standing in a highly visible location. Be alert. Remain standing at all times. Face traffic approaching the work area. Never fully turn your back to traffic or stand in the path of any moving vehicle. The flagger's normal station is on the shoulder of the road. Always have an escape route. Park your vehicle off the road and away from your station in order to maintain an escape route and do not be obscured by your vehicle. Stand alone. Do not mingle with the work crew or the public. Make sure you're visible to oncoming, approaching traffic. Consider not standing where the sun is impeding visibility or in a shadow. Stand alone in a location that allows approaching traffic adequate time to respond using decision sight distance tables. Make sure you can see approaching traffic for at least the decision sight distance. Prior to the start of flagging operations, all signage shall be in place. A good visibility location is where the sight distance is sufficient and the flagger is clearly visible to approaching motorists. When a temporary traffic control zone covers a long segment of highway, additional flagger signs may be needed. In high-speed areas, the maximum distance from the last sign to the flagger shall not exceed 1 mile. In low-speed areas, consider reducing the spacing between the flagger and the flagger ahead sign to a half mile or less. If there's a road intersection within the flag area, an additional flagger may be needed to control traffic entering the temporary traffic control zone from the roadway intersection. When more than one flagger is used, all communication procedures should be clear before any flagging begins. If there's a roadway intersection within the flag area, again, additional flaggers may be needed to control this traffic entering from the side street. Watch for traffic queuing over long distances due to the flagging operations that may cause potentially dangerous situations. These situations may include traffic backed up through an intersection, up an exit ramp and onto the freeway, or stop prior to the first warning signs. When the flagger observes any of these occurring, they should immediately notify their supervisor. The flagger may be given additional instructions on how to maintain a shorter backup of vehicles. Only a licensed uniformed law enforcement officer has the authority to override a fully operating traffic control signal system operating through the green, yellow, red cycle. When traffic signals are set to flash red on all approaches or turned off and temporary stop signs are installed, the intersection may be treated as a non-signalized intersection. Flagging operation within a non-signalized intersection may override the stop and yield signs at an intersection. Approval from the road authority shall be required prior to placing signals into an all red flash mode or turning the signals off. As stated in the video for flagging procedures, stand on the shoulder, always face traffic. Make eye contact with the approaching driver. Never stand in a traffic lane unless drivers are aware of the flagger's presence. Do not cross the center line. You must earn the driver's respect. Do not abandon your post for any reason until the work is finished or a replacement flagger arrives. Do not put yourself in danger. Do not engage in extended conversation with motorists or lean on vehicles. Be polite, but be brief. Do not argue with the motorist. Be courteous. If a driver refuses to obey instructions, record a description of the car, driver, license plate, and the circumstances. Report this information to your supervisor as soon as possible. Remove, turn, or cover all signs indicating the presence of flagging when a flagger is not actually controlling traffic. This includes lunch and breaks. This also includes situations in which flagging is intermittent, such as allowing trucks entering and exiting construction sites. Be alert for emergency vehicles approaching the work site. They have priority rights. Allow them to pass as quickly as possible. In emergency situations, require a minimum 24 by 24 inch fluorescent orange or red flag, or reflective red flag may be used in lieu of the stop slow paddle when the paddle is available. However, as soon as the stop slow paddle is available, it shall be used. Flag shall not be used to signal traffic to proceed. Let's do a quick review. Be alert, remain standing at all times. Face oncoming traffic. Never fully turn your back to oncoming traffic or stand in the path of moving traffic. The flagger's normal station is on the shoulder of the road. Plan your escape route. Park your vehicle off the road away from your station. A flagger is difficult to see when they're next to a vehicle. Never sit in or on your vehicle while flagging. No proper hand and flag signals as shown in the Minnesota Flagging Handbook. Stand alone. Do not mingle with the work crew or motorists. Make sure you are visible to approaching traffic. Consider not standing where the sun is impeding visibility or standing in the shadows. Review the decision sight distance chart in the Flagging Handbook. Emergency vehicles have priority rights. Allow them to pass as safely and quickly as possible. Minnesota statutes contain language requiring drivers to obey the commands of a flagger. Statutes also include penalties for drivers who fail to obey a flagger's direction. A qualified flagger has the ability to report a driver that violates a flagger's direction, and that person can be issued a citation by a peace officer within 4 hours of the violation, even if the officer did not witness the violation. Let's take a look at the requirements and procedures for this. There are requirements for a flagger to be trained. They must be trained in flagging operations, proper equipment to use, the traffic laws that apply, the identification of vehicles, and the process and requirements for reporting a violation. Let's take a look at how you report a violation. This information is needed when reporting the incident. Description of the vehicle, the license plate number, description of the driver, time and location of the violation. Other helpful information that is helpful but not required is if there's any damage to the vehicle. bumper stickers, and other distinguishing features of that vehicle, which would help law enforcement identify that vehicle. There's not much time to gather all the information to aid in this. Alert the other flagger. Have them get information if you might have missed it when they pass by the other flagging station. When traffic violates the flagger station, we have to remember that at 30 miles an hour, they're moving 44 feet per second. At 55 miles an hour, they're moving at 81 feet per second. Not much time to observe. Can you tell me what that vehicle was and what the license plate number on that vehicle? It's a Nissan Altima with a California plate of 2I AB45. The local transportation assistance program website will have a recording of this webinar along with these next 2 pages that you can print and study. The first provides a description of the vehicle types that aid law enforcement in finding the vehicle. Commuter vehicles, non-commuter vehicles, and commercial vehicles and their descriptions, which is very helpful in identifying that vehicle for law enforcement. The second sheet contains the vehicle make or brand logos for most vehicles that are on the roadway today, and other information on identifying distinguishing characteristics such as color, bumper stickers, and damage as previously discussed. The crew leader or supervisor can call 911 to report the violation of the stop paddle. Notify your supervisor immediately. They call 911 dispatcher, which will send it to the appropriate patrol dispatcher and law enforcement dispatcher. Law enforcement must ticket within 4 hours of the incident as specified in the law. One thing to be aware of is that if a person challenges the citation, the flagger is very likely to be called to testify. The prosecutor will subpoena the flagger to appear in court as a witness. That's why it's so important for you to document everything that you see very quickly. The owner of the vehicle is guilty of a petty misdemeanor and is subject to a fine of $300. The owner may avoid the fine if they identify another person that was driving the car and that person is convicted for a violation. Let's talk about how you can enhance your flagging operations. A few things that are included in the field manual that are available to you are portable rumble strips, automated flagger assist devices, portable signals, LED flagger paddles, and air horns. Portable rumble strips in advance of the flagging operation can alert inattentive and distracted drivers of the presence of the work zone and the flagger. Proper location is shown in layout 23 of the field manual. Automated flagger assist devices, known as AFADs, are operated by flaggers from a remote location. Layout 24 of the field manual provides information on the use of AFADs. Let's take a look at how AFADs function.
Automatic Flagger Assistance Devices, also known as AFADs or auto flaggers, are portable traffic control devices. They're designed to allow construction and maintenance crews to safely control the flow of traffic through work zones without having to put themselves directly in front of approaching vehicles. Traditionally, flaggers control the flow of traffic through work zones using flag staffs and portable radios. This forces the flaggers to stand on or near the roadway, exposing them to potential danger. With levels of distracted driving increasing, the Minnesota Department of Transportation recently purchased 3 sets of AFADs through its Research Implementation Program. For some crews in MnDOT's District 3, AFADs are now a part of their everyday work routine.
It came through St. Cloud, our district office up there. They wanted to try out these new auto flaggers and see how they would work out in the field and how we would like them. We really like them. You get the guys off the road that are actually out there with the flag staffs. You could be actually in a vehicle and you could be away from the traffic when vehicles are coming by, and I think it's a big safety benefit for our guys to have the auto flaggers.
We hear all the time that people don't see us. We blend in with the background. Well, the auto flaggers are a big machine sitting on the side of the road, and people see them a long ways off with the lights flashing. I think they see them more.
We have 2 different styles here. One's a little bit wider than the other one, so you need a little bit wider shoulder to put the auto flagger trailers on. And then the other style we have is a little more narrower for roads like what we have today, where you can get it off on a smaller shoulder. You know, you're kind of a sitting duck there sometimes. When you're standing out there, you just never know what the public's doing. A lot of people now are using their cell phones and other things like that in their vehicles, and they're being very distracted while they're behind the wheel. And with these, you can really get off the road and protect yourself. Short staff too, it really helps because one guy can run the controller. You don't have to have 2 or 3 people out there rotating in and out with the flag staffs.
It helps us out because we're kind of a small shop, so our crews are small, and we can take one, or where we take 2 guys to flag, we can do it with 1 guy now, so you get an extra guy doing a guardrail or whatever. I like them. It gets the people off the road. You're not in front of the cars, which is a big plus for my experience.
For more information on MnDOT's AFAD implementation program, visit mndot.gov/research/AFAD.
Another piece of equipment that can be used, portable temporary traffic signals. They automatically control traffic, 2-way traffic on a 1-lane section, eliminating the need for flaggers altogether in these work zones. Layout 25 of the field manual contains details for the use of these signals. The Minnesota Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices contain options for enhancing the stop-slow paddle by incorporating flashing lights into the sign. Another enhancement for flagging operations that was included in the video is that flaggers can use this horns to alert fellow workers and distracted motorists. Let's take a little time in the next few slides to test your knowledge. Can you pick out what's wrong with the following photos? Standing in the lane with your back to traffic and the stop slow paddle, and actually standing in the intersection with traffic approaching from multiple directions. Have to wear proper clothing. That clothing has to be visible from 360 degrees. You have to actually earn the respect of the driver. And again, standing in an open traffic lane with the stop sign, not facing oncoming traffic. Sometimes it's boring on lower volume roadways and it's hard to stand there all day. That's understood. but you should be standing, facing traffic, and properly attired. Use of hand-painted signs is not allowed. There are standards for the signs. Retroreflective signs must be used in all work zones. What's wrong with this picture? There's cars that release suddenly come over the hill and they're right near a flagger coming in both directions. The flagger should be on the crest of that hill so they're visible. There's no channelizing devices for the taper showing drivers where to go and drive when you release them. And again, standing in the lane with traffic moving. Standing in the traffic lane with the stop paddle that's too short, 5 foot's the minimum staff height and 7 foot is suggested. Truck standing next to the truck, so he's blocking his escape route. If somebody does come in, where do you go? You can't outrun an oncoming vehicle. Again, stay away from your vehicle, be in a visible location, pay attention to traffic. You can't earn the driver's respect if this is the behavior. Once again, standing in the lane with the stop paddle shown, not facing traffic, and possibly in a bad sight location. In this case, is standing off on the shoulder of the roadway, but is probably too close to the flagger ahead sign in this location. And there's an intersection that they're standing in if someone approaches there and they're not watching that. It's hard to see on this slide, but this is actually an intersection with a turn lane with a lot of right turning vehicles. And that flagger is standing in the turn lane, trying to stop traffic. You should maybe be located in advance of the turn lane and controlling traffic before it gets to the intersection. Once again, standing in the lane with your back to traffic. The sign is not in good condition. Your sign should always be in a good condition. And there's no channelizer showing traffic where they should be driving. This one, the flagger is inside the work zone. You notice the piece of equipment, I think it's a mill that's coming out in the road in advance of the flagger as traffic approaches. I think with all of those examples that we have, it shows that there's many times that flaggers aren't paying attention to what they should be doing, and it's a very risky job and very important job as described in the videotapes and this training. The lives of the workers, the traveling public, and yourself are in your hands to take care of. There are some additional trainings available. Minnesota Safety Council has one, and ATSA, the National Traffic Association, American Traffic Services Association has an online course. The thing with the online course, it does not meet the requirements for MnDOT construction specifications and projects. Do I have any questions this morning regarding flagging? I don't see any, Samantha. Well, I'd like to thank you for your attention this morning. If you ever have questions or are people that you can address with those questions, I'm available to answer questions as people at Minnesota DOT and other locations. So don't be afraid to ask. Thank you for your attention today. I wish you a very good construction and maintenance season this summer and hope that you can stay safe in those work zones.